tell me where you're watching from. What time is it? Midnight? 3 a.m.? Just before sleep or just after waking? Type it in the comments. I'm always curious where you're joining from. Now, close your eyes. Imagine a world behind painted screens and paper lanterns, where duty is the ritual and silence is louder than speech. You're in feudal Japan, somewhere between 16th and 17th century. You're not a samurai, not a merchant, not even a farmer. You are a concubine, chosen, trained, displayed. Your life is neither wife nor servant. Your job is to please, but also to survive. And tonight, we'll walk with you through secret gardens, through silk corridors, through a day that is not quite yours to control. This is not a fantasy. This is how it was. Midnight Mind Presence. A day in the life of a feudal concubine. Chapter 1. The Morning Bell. You wake before the bell, not because you choose to, but because your body has learned the rhythm. It wakes before your mind does, before the sun has touched the paper walls. And for a moment, you don't move. You lie there on your futon, under the silk that smells faintly of camellias. The scent was chosen by your attendant to match the season and to match your rank. You're not a wife. You're not a maid. You're something in between. And yet, you're watched more closely than either. The chamber is quiet. All around you, shadows. Soft outlines of folding screens. A lacquer chest. A single comb placed precisely on a vanity. You don't own these things. You're one of them. A possession of daimyo, the feudal lord. Part companion, part ornament, part political tool. The bell rings. Not loud, not for everyone, just for the women of the inner residence. The oku. You rise immediately. Slowness is noted. So is grace. Even your silence must be elegant. There are rules here, hundreds of them. When to walk, where to look, how far behind the main wife you may stand. Some concubines were born noble. Others like you were born lucky. Your family wasn't wealthy, but your beauty brought attention. And attention in this world is a dangerous kind of currency. At 14, you were sent to the outer court for training. By 16, you entered the inner chambers. That was 3 years ago. Now, at 19, you're old by some standards. You wash quickly, not with soap, but with warm water infused with yuzu peel. The scent lingers on your skin, delicate, and sharp. A reminder you're here to please the senses. Your attendant, Sayuri, arrives silently. She does not speak unless you ask her to. She brushes your hair, slow, deliberate strokes. She knots it into a style that signifies your role. Not the highest, not the lowest, but rising. Sayuri helps you dress, layer by layer, under robe, the middle robe, over robe, each one a different silk. The colors chosen based on the season, your rank, and the Lord's preferences. Today, ice blue, with the grain embroidered at the hem. Grain, symbol of longevity. You wonder if it's ironic. You sit by the screen, waiting. You do a lot of that here, waiting to be seen, waiting to be summoned, waiting to matter. Outside, you hear footsteps, not rushed, measured. The senior concert walks by. You bow your head, though she cannot see you. Power here doesn't always look like power. It looks like how many layers you wear, how tall your sandals are, how close you sit to the Lord's chambers. You remember your first day here. The silence, the way no one looked at you directly, the way the other women measured you with their eyes, behind fans and half smiles. You learned quickly. Beauty gets you noticed. Obedience keeps you safe. You led to the breakfast hall, not with daimyo, not even with his wife. You eat with the other concubines of your rank, third tier. The food is beautiful, tiny bites arranged on ceramic dishes, pickled plum, barley porridge, a silver of grilled fish. You eat slowly, methodically. Talking is minimal. Eyes down, chewing quiet. A girl named Aiko sits near you. Younger, prettier. You sense the shift. The way others glance at her. The way she pretends not to notice. You used to be her, and now you're still here, but you're not rising. No one tells you your worth. You feel it shift in the air. After breakfast, you're taken to the poetry room. Once a week, each concubine must compose something, a verse, a painting, a song. It's not for expression, it's for display. The Lord likes women who are graceful with words. It flatters his intellect. You write a haiku. You've done this 100 times. Cranes fly through cold air. Their wings brush the mountain mist. Alone, they vanish. Sayuri takes it to the scribe. If the daimyo likes it, he may comment. If he comments, you may be summoned tonight. If not, you wait another day or another year. Being a concubine isn't just about the body, it's about attention. and the fear of losing it. The morning fades, the light shifts, and still your day has barely begun. Chapter 2, Afternoon Duties. It is late morning now. The sun filters through the shoji screens, casting latticed patterns on the floor. You kneel to adjust your posture, not because you're uncomfortable, but because you must always appear poised. Even in stillness, you're performing. You're escorted quietly, without words, to your next task. Today, calligraphy practice. You do not protest. There are no choices here. Every hour has a purpose. Every motion has eyes upon it. Even when you think you're alone, the calligraphy master greets you with a bow that is just slightly shallower than the one he gives the senior concerts. You return it with a perfect 30-degree incline, your gaze respectfully lowered. These little details are your armor. You sit. Ink, brush, paper. The smell of pine-soaked ink calms your nerves. It reminds you of your father's modest home, a memory that feels like it belonged to someone else now. The characters you copy today are Buddhist in nature. Mujo, impermanence. Janshin, the lingering mind. Uketamo, I humbly accept. You press each word onto the page with care. Not too bold, not too hesitant. It must feel effortless. Nothing here is effortless. You must always seem so. The tutor compliments your form. You bow your head in humility. Even as your chest swells with pride, he tells you the Lord might enjoy this one. Might. Everything is a maybe here. Nothing is certain. Except us. Your value depends on perception. Later, you're led outside, not to the public gardens. Those are for guests and the wife. You're taken to your inner gardens, the Nakanewa, hidden between wings of the residence. This is the moment of your stillness, and yet, still, you're not alone. Sayuri walks several paces behind you. She pretends to prune a bush while keeping watch. Two other concubines sit under a plum tree, whispering softly. They stop as you approach. You do not speak. You walk the stone path slowly, your sandals clicking softly. A koi fish breaks the surface of the pond. Ripples spiral outward. You remember what one of the older women told you when you first arrived. A concubine is like the koi. Beautiful, decorative, but never free. You reach the tea pavilion. A low table has been prepared. The lady of the court, one of the daimyo's senior consorts, has summoned a few lower ranked women, including you. You kneel as the tea is prepared. This is not a casual ritual. This is politics in kimono form. Every bow, every sip, every word measured. The lady speaks slowly, smiling behind her fan. She compliments the new girl, Aiko, on her skin, asks her where she gets her lotions. It's not a compliment, it's a warning. You bow slightly, listening, not reacting. You've learned those who speak too much often disappear quietly, sent back home, or worse, reassigned to cleaning duties. You sip the tea, bitter matcha, sweetened only by the silence. When the ceremony ends, you're dismissed with the usual phrase. May your presence continue to bring peace to the inner chambers. It sounds beautiful. It means nothing. Afternoon stretches on. You return to your chambers. A folded message waits for you. Your heartbeat quickens. You recognize the handwriting. It's the daimyo's scribe. Not the Lord himself. He never writes directly. But this is something. His Lordship requests your presence this evening. Prepare accordingly. Bring no questions. You fold the paper twice, then burn it with a candle at your side. Sayuri says nothing, but she bows lower than usual. She knows what this means. Tonight, you will not sleep alone. Chapter 3 The Night Visit. The sky has turned the color of ink. Lanterns flicker along the stone path. The glow trembles in the wind, as if light itself is unsure. You kneel as Sayuri pins the final ornament in your hair. A small comb, a lacquered red with a single cherry blossom. It's symbolic, subtle. Everything here is. You've bathed in yuzu again, then dusted with rice powder. Your kimono tonight is deep violet, with a golden crescent at the hem. Not a color you chose. The message specified it. Colors speak where mouths cannot. You're silent. So is Sayuri. This moment has no script, yet it follows a choreography you've memorized. Every step, every glance, every breath, this is the dance of being desired and disposable. An attendant arrives, male, but lower in rank. He does not meet your eyes. He leads you down the lantern path. The night is cool. Crickets murmur in the grass. Your heart beats in your throat. The inner chambers of the daimyo are walled off with thick, fragrant cedar. The air changes as you step inside. Warmer, still, heavy with incense, sandalwood, and something darker. The attendant bows and disappears behind the shoji. You're alone. You kneel at the threshold. You wait. Exactly 17 heartbeats pass. Then His voice, low, detached, come in. The room is dimly lit. A single candle flickers in a bronze holder shaped like a lotus. The tatami mats are immaculate. A calligraphy scroll hangs on the wall behind him. You recognize the character, Fate. The daimyo sits at a writing desk, not looking at you. He does not greet you. You're not here for greetings. You kneel, bow low. Forehead touches the floor. You wait. He speaks. Finally, not directly to you, but into the room, like he's narrating a thought to the air. I read your poem, the one with the cranes. You say nothing. Silence is safer than pride. You wrote, alone they vanish. He pauses, takes a sip of sake. Do you feel alone? This is a trap. You've learned this. You choose your words with the care of someone walking across a frozen pond. This place is never empty, my lord, but solitude teaches grace. He looks at you now. Finally, his face is unreadable. Sharp features, softened by the candlelight. He's not old, but older than you. Much. He gestures. You rise and sit closer. He pours a cup of sake and hands it to you. Your fingers brush. Not by accident. The room seems smaller now. His voice lowers. They say you do not speak unless asked. I prefer women who think before they speak. You bow your head slightly. Inside, something turns. He asks you to recite a poem. You do. Not yours. One from the Meno show, the ancient anthology. In this floating world, love and power bloom and fade, like morning dew. His eyes stay on you, not to your face, not entirely. Then he stands. You follow, not with hesitation, but with the ritual grace drilled into you for years. He slides open the door to the sleeping chamber. Inside, a futon with silk covers, a bowl of water with lotus petals floating, perfume, the faintest trace of musk. He does not speak. You do not ask. This is not love. This is duty, laced with performance. But even now, even here, there is strategy. A concubine who pleases may rise. A concubine who rises may live longer. So you offer him not just your body, but an illusion that he's still young, still desired, still powerful. That is your true task. Later, when the room is dark and his breathing slows into sleep, you lie awake. You stare at the ceiling beams, wondering how many other women have looked up at these same lines, counting shadows. You think of Aiko. You think of the senior concert. You think of home, though you barely remember the sound of your mother's voice now. Here, you both everything and nothing, a treasure behind locked doors, a whisper no one dares name in public. And tomorrow, you may be forgotten again. But tonight, you were seen. And in this world, being seen is sometimes the only kind of survival left. Chapter 4, Whispers and Rivalries. The next morning, the air feels heavier, not because of the weather, but because of what everyone now knows and pretends not to. You were summoned, and that changes everything. In the world outside these walls, such a thing might just mean gossip, envy, maybe congratulations. But inside the oku, the inner chambers, attention is a blade. It cuts both ways. You kneel for breakfast as always, but the silence at the table has thickened. The other concubines lower their eyes just a breath longer. Aiku avoids your gaze. You're not surprised. This is not friendship. This is theater. And every woman here is both actress and audience. After the meal, you're not sent to the poetry room, nor the gardens. You're summoned. Again. But this time, not by the daimyo. The senior concert requests your presence. Your stomach tightens. This is no honor. This is a warning in silk. You walk the path through the residence, led by two older attendants, their faces unreadable. You pass plum trees, their first fruit just beginning to ripen. A metaphor, perhaps for something dangerous. The senior concert waits in her receiving room. She's beautiful, but not in the way of youth. She's powerful. Her kimono is layered in reds and creams, imperial colors. Her face painted white, lips crimson. Her posture immaculate. She does not rise to greet you. You kneel. You bow. You wait. You were summoned last night. Not a question. A statement. You nod once, just enough. Do you know why many women have passed through these walls? You say nothing. She doesn't expect an answer. Some think beauty is enough. Others think silence is safer. But both disappear just the same. You bow your head again. This time, lower. If he favors you, you'll have enemies. If he forgets you, you'll be ignored. Either way, you lose. She pauses. Then, a smile so small it barely exists. But perhaps you're more than you seem. She dismisses you with a flick of her fingers. The attendants escort you out. You do not speak for the rest of the afternoon, but the message is clear. She knows, and now everyone else will too. In the tea room later, the women are gathered again. You sit in your assigned spot. Aiko makes a passing remark about the poetry scrolls being rearranged. Strange, they only do that when someone new is being watched. Her smile is pleasant, her voice light, but her eyes hold the flash of steel. You answer with a gentle laugh, no tension, no challenge. You do not fight rumors. You let them wrap around you like silk. Soft, silent, unbreakable. Because you have learned there are only three ways to rise in this place. First, be chosen by the daimyo. Second, be protected by the senior concert. Third, let the others destroy themselves trying to reach either. Later that evening, Sayuri helps you change for a brief moon viewing. As she brushes your sleeves, she speaks for the first time that day. Be careful of Aiko. Just that. No elaboration. You nod once. She knows. You know. The court is not a battlefield, but it is a war. A war without weapons. Just glances, whispers, and the silent art of vanishing your rival without touching a single hair on her head. You step outside into the open courtyard where the sky is clear and full of stars. You walk slowly, alone. Tonight, no summons, no confrontation, just you. But even under the moon, you're not free. You feel their eyes, their questions, their envy, and beneath it all, their fear. Because once you were new, once they thought you would pass, but you're still here. And that means something far more dangerous than beauty. It means you're learning how to survive. Chapter 5 Secrets Behind Screens. In the inner chambers, silence has a pulse, a rhythm. It fills every corner, every scroll lined corridor, every paper thin wall. You learn to listen to what isn't said. And today, something is missing. No letter, no summons, no glances. After your night with the Lord, the absence is louder than his voice. It unsettles you, not because you long for him. No, that was never the point. It's the uncertainty that eats at you. You sit by the open shoji, watching the rain fall into the garden stones. Your tea has gone cold. Sayuri is quite behind you, folding robes. But she feels the shift. And then something strange. A sound. A small folded note pushed gently beneath your door. You rise, heartbeat climbing. You look around. The corridor is empty. The note is written in brushstroke, elegant, fluid. But the seal isn't familiar. It reads, "The things in moonlight are not always what they seem. Come to the southern hall after curfew. Come alone." You stare at the words. Not from the daimyo, not the concert, not an attendant. This is forbidden. For hours you do nothing. You hide the note under a floor tile. The southern wing is rarely used. Once part of the guest quarters, rumors says it's haunted. More truthfully, it's where secrets are kept. You pretend to nap. You attend your embroidery session. You smile at Aiko, who smiles back with the ease of a snake sunbathing on a stone. But your mind circles the message like a hawk. Who sent it? Why you? And what risk waits behind that screen? Midnight comes. Sayuri is asleep, or pretending to be. You slip out silently. Your bare feet makes no sound on the wooden floor. The palace seems alive in the dark. Every crack and groan feels like breath. You pass a lantern, unlit, then another. Finally, the southern hall. It smells like cedar and dust. You step inside. There's a figure waiting. Not a man, a woman. Older than you. Plain robes. Face obscured by the shadows. She doesn't bow. She doesn't smile. But her voice? It's sharp, measured, like someone who has waited too long to speak. You don't know me, but I know you. You don't move. I was once where you are, not long ago, chosen, favored, and then forgotten. She steps closer, her face now lit faintly by moonlight. A faint scar along her chin, eyes that carry years of silence. They think when we are dismissed, we vanish, but some of us stay in shadow, in service. You say nothing. You're being watched, not just by women, not just by the daimyo. There are others. You whisper the only question you can form. Why are you telling me this? She smiles barely. Because you are smarter than expected. And because smart women don't survive long unless they choose a side. You stare at her, the rain tapping behind you like an impatient messenger. She steps back into the dark. Come again when you're ready. And then she's gone. You return to your room just before dawn. Sayuri stirs as you enter. You lie back on your futon, eyes wide, not from fear, from something sharper, purpose. All this time, you believed the world of the concubine was about beauty, grace, and silence. But beneath the silk and ritual, there's a network, a secret current. Women who watched, who listened, who remembered. You're no longer just surviving. You've found a door. And maybe, just maybe, you've learned how to open it. Chapter 6. The Ones Who Disappear. They don't leave in the daytime. They never say goodbye. No one packs their things. No carriage arrives. No farewell tea is held. They simply vanish. One day you see them kneeling in the garden. The next, the Feudal is gone, their name erased from the duty list. When you ask, no one answers. They tilt their heads, blink politely, and say, perhaps she was summoned elsewhere. But elsewhere is a word that means many things. Sometimes it means sent to the countryside, married off to an old general. Sometimes it means reassigned to laundry, with hands raw from soap and shame. And sometimes it means she knew something she shouldn't have, or someone grew tired of her beauty, or she looked too long at the wrong person. You remember a girl named Nao, delicate features, always smiling too brightly. She laughed a little too much at the Lord's jokes. She wore perfumes a little too bold. One evening, she was seen speaking with a palace scribe alone. 2 nights later, she was gone. They said she'd fallen ill. But the scribe vanished too. Even Sayuri would not speak her name after that. Now, when you walk past that east wing, you see her reflection in your mind, laughing, then gone. You ask yourself, what keeps you here? What keeps any of you here? The answer is as complicated as the walls that trap you. Status, society, security, the fear of becoming nothing. But for some, it's hope. Hope that one day the Lord will do more than summon, that He will choose not just for the night, but for forever. A title, a son, a legacy. It's happened before. A concubine who becomes the mother of an heir may rise above the main wife. She may hold influence beyond the inner walls. She may shape the future of an entire province. This is the dream sold to every girl who enters these chambers. And yet, that dream is held by many and fulfilled by few. You sit alone in the poetry room today. The instructor doesn't arrive, so Yuri tells you it's a day of quiet. You know what that means. Someone else is gone. Aiku doesn't attend breakfast. You notice immediately. Her cushion at the table remains untouched. Her tea goes cold. When you glance at the other woman, they look through you. No one mentions her. You feel a strange twist of emotion. You never liked her, but she was a mirror. Her ambition, her charm, her gaze like sharpened glass. She played the game, and now the board has cleared. You know what she saw, or said, or refused to say. You think of the woman in the southern wing. Smart women don't survive unless they choose a side. You sip your tea, slowly, steadily, and in that moment you realize you're not just here to survive anymore. You're here to outlast. That night you write a poem, not for the daimyo, not for display, just for yourself. The fox hides in snow, waiting for spring to arrive, teeth beneath the silence. You fold the paper and hide it beneath your futon. A secret just for now, but soon secrets will become your currency. Because the ones who disappear, they make the mistake of thinking this was a place of stillness. It is not. It is place of movement so slow you don't see the fall until it's already over. And you've stopped standing still. Chapter 7. The Game Beneath the Surface. In this world, every smile is a move, every glance a calculation, every silence an opportunity. You used to think life inside the concubine chambers was stillness. Now you understand it's motion disguised as stillness. A chessboard hidden in kimonos and tables. And today, the pieces shift again. The daimyo is ill, it's said softly, with lips barely moving. But the information spreads like a fever, possibly brought on by bad fish, possibly not. You're not told the details, but the atmosphere changes. The wife becomes more visible. Her attendants sweep through the halls more frequently. The senior consort receives visitors at odd hours. And the guards posted near the western wing where the Lord sleeps are doubled. You've never seen a power vacuum, but you can feel one forming. The women do not gossip. That would be dangerous. But they do linger longer in the halls. They dress with more care. And they speak of legacy, heirs, history, and honor with sudden, sharpened interest. You sit with Sayuri, pretending to mend a sash. She watches your fingers, but her words drift lower. The Lord's son, the one from his first wife, he's here. You freeze for half a second. Sayuri continues. He arrived the last night quietly. No trumpets, no banners. You say nothing, but your pulse quickens. The first wife died years ago. The boy, now a young man, was raised in another province. If he's here now and the daimyo is ill, that means the line of power is being redrawn. You think of the other concubines. Some have sons, daughters. Others, like you, have none. But in times like these, blood is power, and those without it must rely on something else: leverage, secrets, loyalty, and cunning. In the tea room later, you're summoned, not by the daimyo, but by the senior consort. Again, this time the air is different. She doesn't wear red. She wears dark indigo, serious, restrained. She asks you to sit. There are only two of you in the room. You were seen speaking with someone near the salon hall. Your stomach drops, but only slightly. You do not flinch. She watches you. Her expression is calm. I have no interest in your secrets, she says, only in your usefulness. She sets down a folded paper, slides it across the table. Tell me what this means. You unfold it. It's your poem. the one you hid under your futon. The fox in the snow, the teeth behind silence. You look up at her, and she smiles. Not cruelly, not kindly, just knowingly. If you are going to hide thoughts, don't place them under a mat cleaned by 3 different servants. You nod once, not submissively, not apologetically, just in acknowledgement. She sips her tea. Her voice softens. There are 2 kinds of women in this place: the ones who wait to be chosen, and the ones who chose who they become. She leans in, eyes sharp. Which are you? You hold her gaze. For the first time, you do not look down. I'm still choosing, you say. She leans back, satisfied. Good. She gestures for you to leave. You do. And as you step back into the hall, you realize something monumental. She's not your enemy. Not exactly. She's a player, just like you're becoming. And in a palace without trust, sometimes alliance begins not with affection, but with mutual threat. That night, you visit the southern hall again. This time, the woman in shadows speaks without pretense. You've caught their attention. You nod. They think they are watching you, she says, but you've started watching them. She tells you things, names, connections, who controls the food stores, who writes the letters, which wives support which factions. It's more than gossip, it's a map. And every name she gives you becomes another step on the invisible ladder you've started to climb. You return to your room, heart thudding like a warning bell. But you feel no fear, only clarity. You're not the girl who entered this place 3 years ago. You're no longer a decoration. You are no longer a pawn. You're learning the game beneath the surface, and soon you might be ready to play it better than anyone else ever has. Chapter 8: The Gift of Blood. 2 weeks pass. You hear conflicting reports. Some say he's recovering, others say he has taken a vow of silence for purification. Still others whisper that he has already named his successor, and the rest of the pageant is just ceremony. But none of them know for certain. You watch, you listen, and one morning Sayuri's hands tremble slightly as she combs your hair. You ask her what's wrong. She avoids your gaze. There is news, she says, almost whispering. You wait. She finally says it. You're late. You blink. Your time has not come. It's been many days. And just like that, the world tilts. You do not answer. You do not move. Inside you, a quiet terror blooms. Not fear of death, but fear of what could this mean? A child. The Lord's child. You do not celebrate. There is no joy here. Only wait. Because now, your body is a vault, a secret, a symbol, a risk. Sayuri bows low. No one must know, not yet. You nod. But you both know, others will guess. Eventually, you begin walking differently, sitting differently, eating more carefully. Midwife who inspects you once a week says nothing. But she holds your wrist for longer than usual, and she doesn't look you in the eye. You return to your routines, poetry, tea, stillness. But your thoughts race constantly. If the daimyo dies before the child is born, you are nothing. If he lives and the child is a girl, your position improves, but not enough. But if it's a boy, and if you survive the birth, then your entire life changes. The senior consort summons you again. She watches you more closely this time. You look pale. I've been unwell, you answer softly. She nods slowly, thoughtfully. It's a dangerous time to be visible. Another warning disguised as courtesy, but she doesn't press. She doesn't need to. She already knows. Everyone does. Later that night, you return to the southern wing. The woman in shadows is already waiting. You tell her. She bows her head, not with reverence, but with sorrow. You must protect yourself. You ask her how. She tells you three things. First, don't trust the midwife. Her loyalty lies with the daimyo's first son. Second, avoid herbal teas offered by others. Even kindness can be fatal. Third, get a message to the scribe, the one who keeps the family register. Your name must be entered quietly before the Lord dies. You stare at her. Can that be done? Only if someone owes you. You think of the scribe who once received your poem from the Lord, the one who commented on your brushwork, who bowed slightly deeper than usual. He might help, or he might destroy you, but you don't have a choice anymore. Because this isn't just about survival, this is now about legacy. The next day, Sayuri slips away during the noon prayers. She carries a note in her sleeve, sealed with wax. A poem inside. A poem about cranes flying above a mountain with the final line. A feather drops into the ledger. It is not subtle, but subtlety is no longer an option. You wait. That evening, Sayuri returns. She bows deeply. It is done. You exhale. For the first time all day, your name is written in ink, not announced, not official, but there. And in this world, that may be enough. You sit alone in your chamber that night. The candle flickers, and for the first time since arriving years ago, you place your head on your belly. There is no swelling yet, no movement, no certainty, but in your mind, you see it a son or a daughter sleeping peacefully beside you. And for one brief stolen second, you allow yourself to feel it. Hope, not as fantasy, but as rebellion. You lie back on your futon. The shadows dance across the ceiling. Outside, the place continues its quiet war of whispers and glances. But inside you, something is growing. Not just a child, but the possibility of something no one ever expected from you. Power. Chapter 9. When the Bell Tolls. It happens at dawn. No trumpet, no proclamation, just a bell. Low, hollow, ancient. Chapter 9. When the bell tolls. It happens at dawn. No trumpet, no proclamation, just a bell. Low, hollow, ancient. It tolls once, twice, three times, and then the silence. So thick, it wraps around the palace like a funeral shroud. The daimyo is dead. No one cries, no one rushes through the halls, but everything changes in an instant. The servants begin moving with urgency, their eyes lowered. Attendants dressed in formal black carry white chrysanthemum through the corridors. Incense chokes the air. Tatami mats are replaced in the main chamber. The inner court is sealed for mourning. The senior concert vanishes behind lacquered doors. No one is permitted to see her. You're confined to your chamber, as per custom. 3 days of stillness. 3 days of silence. 3 days of watching the shadows lengthen on the floor as you wonder. Will they remember your name? Will the scribe's ink still be wet enough to matter? Or will it be as if you've never existed? On the second night, Sayuri brings a tray of food you cannot eat. You ask her, what's being said beyond the inner walls? She hesitates. Then, the sun has taken control. Not officially, not yet, but in a quiet space between death and coronation, power moves through the gaps. He's young, ambitious, raised far from here. He has no attachment to the women of this court, and that makes you disposable. Unless he's made to see you differently, unless he believes what your body carries could shape his future. You whisper to Sayuri. The scribe, has he confirmed? She nods, barely. Your name is in the registry, but not loudly. You press your hand to your belly. Still, barely anything. A flutter, maybe, or imagination. But you felt it now. Life. You do not mourn the daimyo. He was never yours, but his death makes you visible in the most dangerous way. On the fourth day, the court reopens. A hush still blankets the palace, but movement has returned. Ceremonies are held, offerings made, robes in somber colors rustle like ghost wings. The sun, the new lord, walks through the garden with advisors. You catch a glimpse of him through a paper screen. He's taller than his father, more stern, more modern, and his gaze scans everything like a soldier entering enemy ground. You lower your eyes immediately when something inside you says, this man must see you, not as a remnant of his father's indulgence, but as something necessary to the future he now owns. You ask Sayuri to prepare your formal robes, not the violet ones, not the soft ones, but black silk. Simple, elegant, silent power. You braid your hair into a style worn only by the first rank concubines, a gamble. But at this point, you're done hiding. You walk into the western corridor during the dusk prayers. You do not approach him directly. You stand still, poised, unyielding. He sees you. He stops. His attendant look between you. He does not speak. He only studies you. Eyes flick to your midsection, your hands, your face. Then he turns, walks on. You say nothing. You do not follow. But that night, a message arrives. No signature, just a folded paper with a single phrase. The future must be preserved. You smile for the first time in days. He knows, or he believes. Either is enough. The next morning, your name is spoken aloud during the court assembly. Not as the mother of an heir, not yet, but as someone to be protected at this time of transition. A title that means nothing in law, but everything in survival. You're moved to a better chamber. Sayuri receives new robes. A tray of richer food is delivered without request. And on the scroll posted near the registrar's office, your name appears, not handwritten in the margins, but pressed in black ink alongside those of former wives and mothers. You've stepped into legend now, or at least into history's shadow. You sit by your window that night. The garden is quiet. Moonlight covers the stones like frost. And for the first time, no one is watching you. You're no longer the new girl, no longer a passing favorite, no longer a rumor and silk. You are something else now. A gate, a bridge, a mother, and possibly a queen maker. Chapter 10 Echoes Through the Palace. Power in this place has never been loud. It is not announced. It does not shout. It lingers in doorways, in glances, in who speaks first and who lowers their head just a fraction deeper. And now, those glances fall on you. The woman who once ignored you now pauses when you enter a room. Not for long, just enough. Enough to say, "We see you." Enough to ask, "How long will you last?" Because favor in this world is not solid ground, it's ice, thick in some places, but always melting. And as you walk these walls with your hand gently resting on your belly, you understand something clearly. You've become more than yourself. You are a vessel, a future, an echo of a man now dead, and a challenge to those still living. In the eastern garden, you watch two new girls kneeling in the sun. Their backs are straight, their eyes are wide. They are learning how to kneel, how to serve tea, how to speak without truly speaking. You remember being them. You wonder if they see you the way you once saw the senior concubines, as unreachable, terrifying, hollow-eyed ghosts draped in silk. You're not a ghost yet, but you're changing. Sayuri has begun bringing you salted rice in the mornings and a plum paste in the evenings. Quiet midwife visits. Whispers exchanged in code. Everything you eat now is checked twice. Sometimes you wonder if that's enough. You've become too valuable to kill and too dangerous to ignore. A strange balance, like standing in a storm without getting wet. A note arrives, again, unsigned, but you know the writing. The new Lord wishes to see you. Just once, not formally, not publicly, but soon. He burned the note after reading it. And for the first time since all of this began, you feel real fear. When the moment comes, you're escorted into the main chamber, but to a smaller reading room, once the daimyo's place for private reflection. The sun, now the Lord, sits on a cushion behind the brazier. He doesn't look up as you kneel. Finally, he speaks. Do you believe the child is mine? The question is sudden, brutal, direct. You do not flinch. I believe the child is of his blood. You reply softly. He exhales through his nose. Not quite a laugh. Clever answer. He bows to you, hands you a cup. You were his favorite near the end. That much I know. He had no favorites. You reply. That too is clever. He watches you for a long time. Then, if it is a boy, he'll be watched, not celebrated, not yet. You understand? You nod. And if it is a girl? A pause. Then she'll be trained quietly, raised with respect, but not ambition. Another pause. And you? You meet his gaze fully now. No fear, no smile. I will serve, as I always have. He nods once, and then rises. You may go. No ceremony, no gods, no threats. But the message is clear. You live because he allows it, and because, for now, you're useful. The following week, an unofficial decree is posted near the registrar. It does not name you, but it names a child, unborn, recognized, protected. It is enough for now. You return to your routines, modified by pregnancy, shaped by visibility. You do not rush. You do not boast. You remain silent, but present. The senior consort sends you a gift, a swaddling cloth embroidered with cranes. No note, just symbolism, a gesture of acknowledgement, or perhaps surrender. Time becomes meaningless. You sweat through your robe, bite your lip, breathe in rhythms that feel ancient, like the chants of monks. Sayuri holds your hand. The midwife mutters quiet instructions, wipes your forehead with a cool cloth. You hear yourself saying something, a chant. You didn't plan it. It comes from somewhere deeper. Cranes fly, cranes fly. You don't know why. Maybe because you always return to them, symbols of grace and endurance. Or maybe you need to believe you'll rise from this. The pain sharpens into fire. And then silence. A long, terrible silence. Then a cry, sharp, thin, piercing the air like a blade through silk. It's a boy. You don't believe it at first. You blink, dazed. The room spins. Sayuri weeps, but silently, no sobs, just tears down her face. The midwife cleans the child, swaddles him in the cream cloth gifted by the senior consort. Then, just for a moment, she places him in your arms. He's tiny, eyes closed, breathing fast, alive. You hold him, not like a mother in a lullaby painting, but like someone holding a torch in the dark. Because this is not just a baby, this is survival. Hours later, the message is sent. The new lord is informed. A record is made. A scroll is sealed. And for the first time in this long, silent war of beauty and obedience, you win. Your name is spoken aloud. Your rank is raised, not to wife, that is reserved, but to mother of the second son. The senior consort sends a letter this time, not a gift. Simple calligraphy. You've endured, as only women do. No warmth, but no scorn either. Just truth. The next morning, the sun rises through the paper windows. The palace stirs. Lanterns are extinguished. The garden breathes again. And in your chamber, your son sleeps beside you. He is unaware of what he represents, of how many eyes are now fixed on his existence, of how many women have quietly faded behind these walls without ever being remembered. But you remember them. Now, Aiko, the girl who cried alone in the southern hall, the ones whose poems were never read, the ones whose beauty faded before they could be seen. In the ink of your name on a scroll, no one will erase. You're alive, and for now, that is enough. Chapter 12. The Future in Shadows. Time passes differently now, measured not in tea ceremonies or poetry recitals, but in breaths, cries, lullabies whispered at midnight. Your son grows quickly, eyes open more often, fingers curl tighter around yours. His body, once fragile as paper, now carries weight. He's still small, still invisible to most of the court. But you're not. Your name is now recorded on two scrolls, one private for the family registry, one public displayed near the concubine's hall, ranked above half the women you once feared. They bow to you now, not deeply, not dramatically, but enough. You know what they whisper behind fans. She bore a son. She was favored right at the end. Perhaps the new lord will make her more. You smile softly at these rumors because you know what they don't. Being more in this palace is not about a title. It's about duration. You're still here. And in a place where most women disappear before they bloom, that is victory. The senior consort visits you one evening, unannounced. She arrives not in red but in morning grey. Her hair is simpler, her face drawn. She looks at your child for a long time, then speaks. He looks like his father. You nod. You do not say thank you. That would be false. She sits, The two of you drink tea together for the first time without witnesses. She studies you. Do you want more? You look at her. More what? More than this. A dangerous question. A trap, maybe. You answer carefully. I want him to live. She nods. That is the right answer. A pause. Do not become ambitious. Another pause. Not yet. Then she leaves. Just a message you now understand better than ever. In this world, motherhood elevates you, but ambition exposes you. Still, the god shifts around you, subtly. The new lord has no children of his own yet. His bride is still young, kept separate, carefully watched. Your son is not in line for anything official, but if something were to happen, a fever, a delay in pregnancy, a shift in allegiance, then your child becomes more than symbolic. He becomes inevitable. And so you live like a shadow in the sun, visible, warmed, but never rooted. Sayuri sleeps lightly now, her ears always listening for movement in the halls. You keep your child's sleeping space guarded, quietly, with women loyal to no one but you. Because you've learned, in a palace of silk, enemies wear smiles. And poison can be poured just as easily into bath water as it can into tea. You begin writing again, not for display, not even in poems. You write records, the names of who visited you, what time, what they wore, what they said. You keep them hidden in a lacquered box, behind a drawer, in your comb case. You don't plan to use them, but if you ever disappear, Sayuri knows where they are. This is your new armor. Not words, not perfume, not grace. Memory, and paper, and patience. Sometimes late at night, you walk the southern hall alone. You haven't seen the woman in shadows since your son was born. You wonder if she's still there, or if she was ever truly real. A ghost? A former concubine? A servant turned whisperer? It doesn't matter. And now you are the one others visit in secret. The younger concubines look to you not with envy, but with hope. They do not say it aloud, but you see it in the way they fix their hair like yours, the way they ask about your morning herbs, the way they linger when your son laughs. You're no longer the girl who was chosen. You're the woman who remains. Chapter 13. The Cost of Survival. You are safe. You are respected. You are mother to a boy whose name appears in ledgers, whose future is quietly discussed behind closed doors. But are you free? No one asks that, because no one in this world expects a concubine to want freedom. They expect obedience, grace, mystery, perhaps influence, but not desire, not selfhood, not longing. And yet, in these still moments, you feel it, a hollow in your chest, a breath that never fully releases. You no longer dress for display, you dress for symbolism. Each robe you wear now communicates status, intention, lineage. Even your hair speaks, swept into the knot worn by women of enduring rank. But inside, you feel further from yourself than ever. When you laugh with the other concubines, it feels performed. When you hold your son, it feels true, but also terrifying, because his survival is the thread upon which everything else hangs. One illness, one misstep, one shift in the wind, and the palace will collapse around you. Not with noise, but with absence. Sometimes you remember your first lover before this place, before duty swallowed your body whole. You remember how he said your name, not as a command, not in ritual, just said it, like it belonged to you. In this world, you haven't heard your name in years, not your true name. Here, you're addressed by title, by honorific, by your son's relation. You've become a constellation, admired, noted, charted. But no one asks you what you feel, not even Sayuri. And Sayuri is the closest thing you have to a friend. She brushes your hair each night, still as careful as ever. But even she does not speak of the hollowness, because she knows. She has seen what happens to women who ache too loudly. They're labeled unstable, then shuffled quietly away for rest. You've earned your safety, but it came at the price of silence. You begin writing poems again, not for display, not even for Sayuri. You fold them and hide them under the floor mat where your first secret poem once lay. They are not beautiful, they are raw. I'm a locked room filled with songs no one hears. Still, I keep singing. He does not know me, but he bears my blood each day. I live through his breath. Some birds learn to sing without ever seeing sky. I am one of them. You do not share them, but they are the truest things you have. One evening, during a rare gathering of court women, you hear your name spoken, not as gossip, not as warning, but as an example. The new consort, a cousin of the new Lord's bride, says softly, "She survived the old reign. That means something." Another woman responds, "She didn't just survive, she adapted." It is a compliment, but it feels like an obituary. You bow politely, you smile, you do not flinch, but inside, you wonder who you are. Now that you're no longer afraid, what does a life of endurance become when the crisis ends? You thought survival would feel like peace. Instead, it feels like maintenance. At night, your son sleeps beside you. His face is still, soft, round, untroubled. He dreams easily, and you envy him. You lie awake, staring at the wooden beams above you, wondering how many women stared at the same beams, how many lived entire lives in this one room, loved, hated, feared, forgotten, without ever seeing the world beyond these walls. You promised yourself you would not vanish, and you haven't. But sometimes surviving feels like being frozen in glass, on display, untouched. You reach for your son in the night, press your hand lightly to his chest. He breathes, and for now, that is enough. You will continue with quiet rituals, with graceful bows, with poems that no one reads. Because even if they do not know your name, your child will, and through him, your life will echo. Chapter 14. A Life Remembered. Your name is not carved in stone. No statue will bear your likeness. No epic poem will chant your deeds. No war was won in your name. But still, you existed. And that alone is defiance. Because in this world, a concubine is meant to fade. She's petal, admired, then swept away with the changing seasons. But you did not fade, you remained. Your son grows stronger with each passing month. He walks now, stumbles, laughs. He calls you mother with a clarity that breaks you open. In that single word, everything you endured becomes sacred. He will never know the full cost. He will not understand the diplomacy woven into every tea ceremony, every robe, every silence. But one day he will read it. Because now you write, not poems, not records for spies, but memo, a truth, in the form of a letter, not to him exactly, not directly, but to anyone who might someday ask, what was it like to be her? And so you begin. They told me to be still, to be soft, to be beautiful, but silent. And I was all of those things. But beneath the painted face, beneath the folded silk, I watched, I listened, I remembered. I was not powerful, but I survived. I was not free, but I endured. I was not named, and still I remained. You fold the letter, seal it with wax. Place it inside a carved box, along with the first poem you ever wrote here and the comb you wore that first night. It is not a monument, but it is enough. A whisper through time, a thread someone might find years from now and follow back to you. The palace around you changes again. New concubines arrive, old ones leave, married off, reassigned, vanished. The senior consort ages gracefully. The young bride of the new lord gives birth to her first son. You send a gift, a rattle carved from cherry wood. No note, just acknowledgement. You are no longer a rival. You are an artifact, but an artifact that breathes, that watches, that still matters. Sayuri grows older too, her hair streaked with grey now, her hands slower. She brings you tea, still brushes your hair with the same reverence. One evening she speaks. Do you think they'll remember us? You sip your tea. No, you say. Then why did we do it? You look at her. Because someone always must. She nods. No sadness, just understanding. And sometimes, only sometimes, you allow yourself to dream of a home not walled in cedar, of a name spoken freely, of a life where your body was not currency but sanctuary. These dreams are soft, fleeting. you do not cling to them, because what you've earned was real. A sun, a place in the scroll, a story hidden in the folds of history. And for a concubine, that is a revolution. The scrolls will say later, they'll record your name beside us, a footnote in a lineage, but maybe somewhere beyond these walls, a girl will grow up reading the margins, a scholar will notice your brushwork, a servant will whisper your story to her daughter, and in that moment you will live again, not as a name, but as a memory, as something more lasting than stone, a soul that endured. Chapter 15. The Woman Behind the Screen. They never saw your full face, not once, only glimpses across painted screens, reflected in lacquered mirrors, caught in the tilt of a fan or the flicker of a candle. That was how you lived, half in view, half in hiding. And yet, behind that screen, you contained multitudes. A daughter, a concubine, a mother, a strategist, a ghost, a flame. They thought you were an accessory, but you were the architecture. There is no word in their language for what you truly were. No title captures the tension of your days. You were not a wife, not a servant, not royalty. You were the space in between, and in that space you built a life, not of glory, but of meaning, not for the world, but for yourself. Some nights you still wake before dawn. Your son, now older, breathes deeply beside you. His face more like his father's now, sharper jaw, steadier eyes. He's learning history, swordsmanship, the art of calligraphy. He does not know that you once feared he would not live to speak. That every breath he took was victory won by silence. One day he will marry, one day he'll forget. Not because he's cruel, but because boys born to privilege often forget the hands that carved their path. And that too is your legacy, to shape without leaving fingerprints, to exist without demand, to love without witness. You remember your first day in the palace, how the floor creaked, how your body trembled as they tied the obi around your waist, how every word felt like a test you didn't know the answers to. You didn't know then what you would become, that you would walk through fire without a single burn mark, that your greatest rebellion would be to endure, that in a world assigned to consume you, you would remain whole. Even if no one ever said your name aloud again, you know who you were. In your final poem, the one you never write down, only whisper as you stare at the moon, you say, I was the wind, moving behind the paper walls, shaping every breath. That is how history will remember you, if it remembers you at all, not as a heroine, not as a tragedy, but as presence, as shadow, as the reason the palace still stands. And now, let the screen close, let the candles burn low, let the night fold over you like silk. You've told your story, not loudly, not for fame, but truly. And in this world, that is the most powerful thing of all. Thank you for walking this path with us. You lived a day and a lifetime as a concubine in feudal Japan. But more than that, you walked through duty. You breathed through silence. You endured invisibility and found power in the unseen. Now close your eyes, let your breath slow. Let this world fade, and know this, even in the quietest places, someone remembers. For all the women who lived entire lives behind screens, this story is for you. If you enjoy this journey, leave a whisper in the comments. Tell us what stayed with you the most. And if you're still awake, we'll see you in the next dream.